Hey everybody, and welcome to Breaking Biotech, the podcast where I get into all things biotech trading related. My name is Matt, and I want to thank you all for joining me. If you like what I'm doing, please hit like, subscribe, or follow me at Twitter at Matthew Lapoire. And so sorry for not being around in the last month. I've had a hectic little while, but going to be getting back to it and doing more regular videos. So today I want to talk about two things in particular. The ADAMAS earnings call that happened, so they're a company that I have a pretty decent position in, and their earnings calls are particularly important because we find out how many prescribers they have and how many patients they have actually using GoCovri, which is going to affect their stock price. The other thing I want to talk about is the Trump announcement yesterday. So people have been looking forward to what the Trump administration is going to do with drug pricing, and the market responded very well to it yesterday. The XBI was up about 3% yesterday, so about 2 weeks ago, ADAMAS had their earnings call. So for those who don't remember, ADAMAS has a drug out called GoCovri, and it is for treating levodopa-induced dyskinesia. And they have a patent over it. It's an extended release adamantine. Yeah, and they've shown a lot of data that suggests that it works a lot better than immediate release adamantine. And the real kicker for them was whether or not they could get enough prescribers or enough patients on the drug. So I listened to their earnings call, and the big takeaways here: 1,608 paid prescriptions. They have 550 distinct prescribers, and then they talk about other trials that they've done. A long-term ease-lid study. They also talked about their recruitment for their MS walking study with GoCovri, and they also talked about this lacosamide new drug that they're trying to reformulate. So this is actually a protected drug from another company that they're hoping to bring to the market as that other drug expires in terms of their patents. So if we compare this to the previous earnings call, they had 742 as of December 31st, or from December 31st to February 28th. So they've doubled their prescriptions, and they've added about 200 distinct prescribers, because they had about 300 according to their previous earnings call. So I'm pretty happy with this. I am hoping that they get 3,000 paid prescriptions of GoCovri by the end of the year. So if they can maintain this, and in the next earnings call we see this number around 2,400, I think everything will go well, and I'm hoping that their stock price will go up between 50 and 60 with the revenue generated from that. So overall, happy about this. Still holding on to my position. I'll get into my positions later in the video. But they talked about their cash on hand. They still have a lot of cash on hand, which I think is very important when they're trying to roll out a sales pitch. They're also going to get more feedback as they go about how many people like the drug and want to reuse the drug and refill a prescription. So I think that information is going to be pretty helpful, and we might get more insight into that. So other than that, people had a lot of questions about the Osmolex drama that was going on, because the FDA ruled that they could sell Osmolex ER, which is a kind of a rival to GoCovri, even though they don't have any data to support their effects of the Osmolex drug compared to GoCovri. And so far with these numbers, it doesn't seem to me like they're going to be using Osmolex ER off-label, or at least they haven't been successful. The price that they announced actually was $4,500 a year for Osmolex ER, which is actually a lot cheaper than the GoCovri drug. But given that they don't really have a lot of data to show that it helps with dyskinesia associated with levodopa treatment in Parkinson's disease, I don't think it's actually going to be that big of a problem. So we'll see how it rolls out. I'm still holding on to my shares, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is the Trump drama. So I'm not going to make this video very political, but this has a lot of implications for us, because if Trump starts to over-regulate or does anything involving drug prices, it could obviously affect the bottom line for a lot of these pharmaceutical companies. So his rhetoric's always been that pharma's gouging the consumer in the U.S., and while I tend to disagree with that, I do think that the system in the U.S. makes it difficult for people in the individual market to save money when it comes to healthcare. So given that rhetoric, he hit on a few points associated with negotiation between pharmaceutical companies and different payers. And so I think that that's all fine. It's not super important, at least in terms of what I think is the takeaway from his talk. So one of the things is that he's worried about the patent system, how a lot of drugs or a lot of companies try to reformulate drugs like ADAMAS has done and gotten patent protection from that. So he didn't give too many details about whether or not that's gonna, or how he's gonna enforce that and make it seem like you can't reformulate drugs to get extra patent protection, but it seems like they might try to write something that prevents companies from doing that. So we'll see how that goes. That was pretty informal. The big thing I think that was good is that he's going to try and get foreign companies to pay more for their drugs. So pharmaceutical companies are able to negotiate their prices with foreign centralized healthcare systems. The United States obviously doesn't have a single payer healthcare system, but a lot of more socialized countries do, like Canada and a lot of European countries, and they're able to negotiate a cheaper price because they have so many people that are going to be buying the drug. And this makes it, on its face value, difficult because Americans see this and they want to know what's going on. So out of the gate, I don't think that this is going to change drug prices here. If pharmaceutical companies charge more abroad, I don't think that means that they're going to be able to charge less here. So just that doesn't seem like a very realistic thing. But if Trump manages to negotiate trade deals that are going to increase the profits of pharma, then that's obviously going to be great for those of us who are invested in biotech and pharmaceuticals. So I think that's the kicker that pharma responded to on Friday, leading to the XBI going up as much as it did, because pharma has to negotiate, and if these centralized healthcare systems don't want to pay what pharmaceutical companies offer, then they're not going to buy the drug and they're just going to go somewhere else. So if Trump manages to negotiate a trade deal like that, then that's good. So I think overall, the one thing that I was waiting for Trump to bring up is whether or not the administration was going to allow consumers to import foreign drugs. And currently they can't do that. The FDA cites that it's too risky for them, American consumers, to buy a drug from a foreign pharmacy and have it imported. Pharma domestically, I think, has successfully lobbied government to make that illegal, forcing the drug prices here to be as high as they are. So Trump didn't comment on that at all, so I think that's going to remain a thing. And unfortunately, I don't think that whatever Trump talked about yesterday is going to change drug prices very much, but it does look relatively bullish for pharma as a whole. So I think that's good for us anyway. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to touch on is an update on my portfolio. These are the companies, so the positions that I've added to. I added to my Fate position. I bought some Bristol Myers. I think they have a great pipeline, and their earnings weren't very impressive, so I thought it was a good chance to pick up some, and I got a bunch at 54, and I'm down in the position, but it's going to be a long-term hold, so I'm not too worried. So Madrigal has been coming up despite me still being down. Immune as well, I'm still down. Gilead took a hit on their earnings as well. So ADAMAS has been slowly climbing up, and I'm encouraged by that. I think the report that they showed was good, so I should expect that to continue. My Lumina position is keeping everything afloat. They had a good earnings as well. Fate took a hit. Their earnings came out on Thursday night, and they reported a less than expected revenue or earnings per share. So that's why I picked some up. I think it's still a contender for a buyout opportunity given what's been going on in the CAR-T space. So I think they're a buy at this price for sure. Spark has been all over the place given the Avexis buyout, so they've been up and down, but I am still going to keep holding them. And of course, Bristol Myers, I'm down a bit. So overall, since I bought these positions, I'm down about 1.5% compared to XBI and the S&P. I'm not doing very well, so I am still convinced that I'm going to have long-term success in this portfolio. So if you look at the chart here, XBI did really well this past week, and so did the S&P actually. So In terms of volatility, this week was actually kind of a change up. We saw a big decrease in the volatility in the SPX and the XBI. So some people are thinking that the volatility that we've been seeing is no longer going to occur, and that we're going to be smooth sailing and hitting all-time highs again. There's some evidence to see that. The Buffett news with Apple really put a lot of fire behind technology anyway, but it remains to be seen. I'm cautiously trading more, increasing my positions in other areas, but I don't know if we're out of the woodwork just yet. So with that, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. I'm going to try to get back to doing a weekly video and branch out a little bit and try to look at more individual companies and analyze some of the trial data that they have coming out. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and if you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, or tell a friend. Thanks.